The division gets just a little bit weaker. The San Francisco 49ers have acquiesced to Deebo Samuel's trade request, moving him along to the Washington Commanders for a bag full of peanuts and a can of soda, and giving the Seattle Seahawks a little bit of a weaker rival in this division in what is always a very hard-fought division. So getting a little bit weaker is always a good thing for us, though. Look, we don't want any easy path, but it's nice when it does occur. There is also rumors that the Niners might follow up this trade by also moving Brandon Aiyuk. Both of these moves, in large part, made because of really salary cap issues, not as much as being up against the cap, but because the owner just doesn't want to spend as much money as he spent recently. The Niners have done a lot of backloading deals, and maybe the owner's kind of just about fed up with throwing around so much bloody money without getting championships, which is probably pretty understandable. Deebo was not the same player he once was, which is another part of why this trade is getting accommodated. But this was a guy who, in his short time since 2019, had really given us issues over and over again, and time again, whether it be catching the ball, as he had a 76-yard reception even this year in what was a down year. In fact, he had 100 yards receiving in both games this season. There's going to be the quintessential moment for me that stands out with Deebo when I think about him here in going up against our Seahawks, where you had Darrell Taylor coming off the edge on a play. He's unblocked, no man on him. They're running the fly sweep right at him with Deebo Samuel. He's standing in front of Deebo Samuel. There's about a yard of space between them. Deebo makes one tight move, and he's gone. He houses it on the next step, and you just go, how does he not even almost get a hand on the guy there? That was unbelievable. This guy was a monster with the ball in his hands early on in his career, and as hard to bring down as any wide receiver I've seen in my life when he was in those kind of situations. I think the problem was, though, that he certainly got paid, and this is where we're going to kind of turn this to a little bit of some lessons the Seahawks can take away from this, which is that, number one, he certainly got paid and kind of downshifted at that point, and you didn't get quite the same hungry player fighting his ass off every time he touched the ball, that you're going to have to kill him as much as do anything else to bring him down to a player that kind of quite easily would go down much more often, who seemed to maybe even gain a little bit of weight, dare I say, after he did get paid. I think another part of this, though, was how the Niners really overused him early on. I think this is also a thing that you see with Christian McCaffrey right now, is that Shanahan has this tendency to just ride a player into the ground when he really likes him, especially at the running back position. And they used Deebo Samuel a couple of years ago in the playoffs like a running back. And so you saw in that moment in that playoffs where you're going, man, this is a lot of touches for a wide receiver, how there was going to be a cumulative effect on this. And when you got down a couple of years forward, that he was not going to be the same kind of player he once was. And that is also, I think, a part of what we're seeing here. So two real main lessons to take away from with the Deebo Samuel situation, on top of it just being nice that the rival gets a little bit weaker. And number one, be very careful when you spend this type of top dollar for any skill position player, be it a wide receiver, be it a running back. Things can fall off very quickly. And when you're talking about spending the type of money that the Niners had to pay on Deebo Samuel, a big chunk of your salary cap. So you've got to be sure about what you're getting moving on to the future, and that you're not rewarding for past performance, which is a little bit of, I think, what they were kind of starting to feel like they're about to be doing as they approached that last contract situation with him, where it was almost kind of begrudgingly so that they signed him. A little bit like the Brandon Aiyuk situation, which is probably not then coincidental that they're looking to now move Brandon Aiyuk in the trade as a secondary portion of this. So first and foremost, be very careful when you hand out top of the market deals to these skill position players. But then the second part being that don't use a guy up. If you've got a good thing, a running back who's really dynamic and great, don't think old school style where it's about getting the guy 300 touches in a season. Likewise, if you have a wide receiver who can do some yak things and is a fly sweep guy, don't overuse that. Don't lean on that too much. Understand that these guys are going to get wore out if you're going to lean on them that much. This is why running backs, for instance, fall off so quickly. More touches, the quicker the fall is going to come. More touches, the quicker that they're going to lose that step. More touches, the more that the injuries start to pile up. These are just some lessons that I think you can learn from this situation. But it is nice to see the Niners getting a little bit weaker, and maybe the Seahawks having a little bit more of an open door to getting that division title next season.